welcome to Live Q&A. Happy Wednesday to you, thanks for joining me once again. A few of you are starting to know the drill, which I really appreciate, that we get some viewers that are tuned in before we even start, so that's great. Thank you everyone for joining us. Hopefully more will pick up as we go. But yeah, it's Wednesday, so here we are for another live Q&A. By the way, the fan is running. It's a necessity today in England. It's particularly warm. Haven't aimed it at the phone though, so today hopefully the sound will be better. If the fan sound is horrific, please let me know and I will turn it off. I will suffer for my art, for you good people. Alright, here we go. So, pretty obvious where I wanted to start today. If anyone's seen our Instagram page today, this guitar went up. So this is a Gibson Custom Shop 1960 V3 Les Paul, and I think it's in faded bourbon burst. And I try and do it justice here in the light, but if you want to see it properly, check out the Instagram. I think it's on the website too. This is a stunning, stunning Les Paul, and I played it today to do the listing video, and I thought this is definitely going in the live Q&A today because every once in a while, I mean, there's so many good Les Pauls at the moment because we've had the 60th anniversary of the year 1960 at the moment. So that's kind of where we are, and I've played a lot of these guitars now. And this one is a standout. Every once in a while you get a standout, and it's usually when they come in on their own. I feel sorry for the guitars, so I'm just going to tilt this down slightly so you can see it a bit more. I feel sorry for the guitars that come in batches because I often sort of miss the jewels in there. You know, I'm often just concentrating on playing all these guitars very quickly, and sometimes I miss the real standout pieces. But when they just come in one at a time, that's a different story. So that's what I've got here today. So this guitar, I think, kind of surmises everything that I like about Les Pauls. It's got the brightness, and you can tell that even acoustically. Which hopefully you can hear over the fan, but really great acoustic tone. Let me just turn the fan down slightly, actually. Forgive me. Right, I'm all over the place today, but I want to get this right. I want to get this sounding right and looking right. I've moved a bit closer as well, as you'll probably be able to tell, so hopefully this is all a little bit better than previous episodes. Okay, so this Les Paul, yeah, acoustically, it's really bright. And I like the fact that if you go to the bridge pickup, I've got the clean sound. Let me just play the clean sound so you can hear it properly. It's still quite bright, and it's got that Les Paul snarl. That's brilliant. Perfect. That's what most people buy a Les Paul for. However, the middle position and the neck both sound lovely as well. So here's the middle position. And that neck. And going back to the middle position, as I've talked about before in other videos, my favourite Gibson sound, or one of them anyway, is middle position with the bridge volume on 10 and the neck volume on about 6. It's glorious. Okay, so let me just put the gain back on, and I'll talk through the rest of the signal chain a little bit later on, but here's what this sounds like, and what you'll have heard in the opening there is super dynamic from clean to higher gain tones, and it's all within your fingertips with the guitar's controls. So here's what it sounds like. guitar. And being a 1960, and this is the V3, and what that basically means is that V1, V2 and V3 of the 1960 guitar, at least to my understanding, the neck profile is the real significant change. The V3 being the thinnest, so this is actually quite a skinny neck, and I don't normally go for that on Les Pauls, but I do think it does something to the sound. I think it adds a little bit more top-end content, or rather it probably reduces some more low-end content rather than adding top-end. Whatever it does, it works really, really well. On this guitar, it's kind of the ultimate Les Paul package, really, and I feel as though we show you a lot of Les Paul guitars on this channel, and they don't always get a fair viewing. You know, there's never really the chance to show you each and every guitar in its absolute optimum capacity. We try our hardest with the listing videos, but sometimes there's just a standout that needs pointing out to you. So that's exactly what this guitar is. So if you're in the market for a Les Paul, the 60th anniversary of the 1960 Les Paul is a very good time to purchase one. So I just wanted to draw a bit of attention to this guitar. It's already on Instagram and so on, but here it is on YouTube as well. And you'll be seeing the listing video for this shortly, but here it is in the real world, in live time. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is obviously answer your questions as they come in, so keep the questions coming. But I wanted to kind of get back on track. The previous few live Q&As where I've tried to show some cool gear, I've kind of diverted and gone off on tangents and stuff like that. So I'm going to keep things simple today. I'm just going to show you 3 awesome guitars with no real agenda here. There's no kind of theme that's going to run here. They're just 3 guitars that, walking around the shop today, I thought, these are 3 guitars I want to show. And it's as simple as that. So hopefully you're going to enjoy them, this being one of them, of course. Now before I get onto your questions, which I do want to do quickly today because I normally leave it a little longer, let me just tell you what else is in the signal chain for anyone who wants to know. So I'm plugged into a Dr. Z Z-Master, which is the Joe Walsh signature 3x10 Bandmaster style amp. You've heard this quite a lot recently. We put it in the Pete Townsend Tale of Two Tones video recently, and it did a great job in that. Sounds fantastic, and it sounds great today as well. So I've actually got it facing away from me, so hopefully it's not going to obliterate the camera. I'm using it pretty clean. You know, these amps sound fantastic when you can crank them, but it's horrendously loud, and I'm in the Fender custom shop room today, which is very small. So I don't want to get too loud in the room, but here's what the amp sounds like anyway. Sound. And I just want to point out, I think that amps with 10-inch speakers like this one, it's got 3 10s, they sound really different to any amps with 12-inch speakers, and that, you know, seems like an obvious thing to say, but the response is different. It's not just the like the actual tone of the amp, it's the way it responds. 10s are so immediate. Don't know what it is, I just love the sound of 10s. The gain pedal that you're hearing today is this. It's the J-Rocket Melody, which is the Mark Lettieri signature overdrive pedal. It's basically a Dumble style sound, at least to my ear. It sounds fantastic, and it's got a 6-band graphic EQ on it, which is really useful. It really helped me tailor the sound to this particular amp today. So I really like the sound of this pedal, and I love the functionality of the EQ as well. The keener-eared of you from the start there will have noticed that I had some reverb and delay, which sounds thusly. Great reverb, great delay. That's the Earthquaker Devices Dispatch Master. Okay, so that is a reverb and delay in one. It's predominantly a delay, but it's got a great reverb attached as well. So that's the little rig for today. Really effective, really simple. I want to use it just to show you these awesome guitars. Okay, before I move on to guitar number 2, let's get into the questions. And I can see quite a few comments that have been coming in already, so this should be quite good. Okay. Okay, let's see what we got. Oops, dropped my tuner there. Let me pick that back up. Right. McNasty asks, I'm in the market for a reverb pedal. Any suggestions? The Boss RV6 is one I have on my list. It's a very good suggestion for your list. The RV6 is a great utility reverb pedal. It's got so many different sounds in there. And being a Boss pedal, it's not only built very well, but it also just kind of exemplifies what they do so well in terms of their reverbs and stuff like that. They're really well known for their shimmery stuff and their sort of ambient patch type reverbs, which I really like, and they make for very good utility pedals. If that's the sort of thing that you're looking for though, that more ambient thing, then coincidentally enough, the Dispatch Master that I'm playing right now, granted it's attached to a delay, which you may or may not want, but it's such a nice sounding reverb. I wonder if I can turn the mix of the delay down and just have the reverb. No, I can't. So it's reverb and delay tied together, which may or may not be your thing, but gorgeous reverb. So if you like the more ambient stuff, then I think this is a great option. The Boss is also a great option. But if you're looking for more of an amp type reverb, like a spring sound, then you're better off looking at options like the Strymon Flint, which is always probably going to be my favourite reverb. I think it applies to a lot of guitar players that's their favourite reverb because it is so amp-like, it's so realistic. However, I would say stay tuned to the Peach Guitars YouTube channel because very soon we'll be seeing a new series to do with pedals. That's all I'm going to say. And therein will be some useful information for you, I think. So stay tuned for that on the Peach Guitars channel coming very soon in terms of pedals. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question a little bit. Modern Vintage asks, any advice on a Two-Rock Silver Sterling Signature versus a PRS JMod 100? Do they feel and sound different enough to justify both? Well, big spender. Okay, so a couple of my thoughts on those amps. Two of the best electric guitar amplifiers that you could possibly purchase. The Two-Rock is a lot more lively sounding, and if anybody's seen John's recent SRV video where he used that amp, you'll notice just how massive that thing sounds, and recording that was an absolute both joy and displeasure, I think, for John, because it's so loud and it's so brutal and it's such a wide bandwidth of tone, and it literally just takes whatever you put into it and puts it straight under a magnifying glass, and there's no smudging of any frequencies, there's no hiding behind anything. You've got gorgeous reverb that does complement what you're doing, but the Silver Sterling is brutal, and I've actually not sat down and played one properly yet. Apart from when I did the John Mayer sort of rig collection, or like sort of trying to get some of the John Mayer tones in a video last year, which you may have seen, you may have not. It's a fantastic amp. The PRS, which also featured in that John Mayer video, the J-Mod amp I'm talking about. I really hate how misunderstood that amp is. When it came out, a lot of people just didn't get it because it's 100 watts and you play it and you think it's not very loud. You know, there's not a whole lot to it, but it's so misunderstood because that's the joy of it. The joy is, and I guess what it was designed to do, is to be cranked up loud, and when it's loud, it is loud. So you turn the volume all the way up almost, and the presence as well, because it's very dark. And when it's at that level, the touch response is like nothing else I've ever played. It's sublime. The touch response on the PRS amp is second to none. Even the Two Rocks, I think it has those bettered in terms of just the sheer level of dynamics that come off the pick and come off your fingers. So if that's your deal, if you want to play really dynamically and have a really fat tone, because that amp sounds extremely warm and extremely round. And it's interesting to note that the cabinets that they were designed with were different as well. The Two Rock guys have always designed their amps around open back cabs. The PRS was designed around a closed back 2x12. So there is a significant difference between the two. I think if you had the money, you could justify the difference between them because they sound totally different. If you want evidence of that fact, then please check out that John Mayer video that I'm talking about. It'll be on the Peach channel. I don't remember the title of it, but it'll be in there somewhere. If I had to pick one, I think the Two Rock is probably a bit more versatile than the PRS, but I always got excited whenever I got the chance to play one of those PRS amps. And I only got to play one a couple of times, maybe 2 or 3 or maybe 4 times, before they would disappear and get sold. And they're fantastic amps. They're incredibly misunderstood. There's no way they're designed for a bedroom. There's no way they're designed really to kind of give you versatility of tone. It's just one mega tone when it's loud. When it sings, that amp is phenomenal. So maybe if you're in a studio, you get a lot of great use out of that PRS amp. But the Two Rock is undeniable as well. So both real Rolls Royce of amps there. You can't go wrong with either. But yes, they are different. I think they're both very different. They both got very different characters. Hope that helps a little bit anyway. All right, a few more greetings from all around the world. As I've said in previous videos, I like when people chime in with where they're from. So thank you, some of you, for doing that. Hello from New York, I see, which is great. Okay, Krenar Silku Guitar. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly, sir. I've seen you pop up a few times. I hope I've almost got the pronunciation correct. I probably haven't. But forgive me. Are you buying the Nick Huber guitar you just reviewed? The playing on that video was amazing. Well, thank you very much. And I did see your comment on that video relating to that question. No, I'm not buying that. That was the guitar that featured last week on the live Q&A. It's a Nick Huber Orca that's a semi-hollow guitar, Brazilian rosewood fingerboard, and a few other little really nice appointments on that thing. And it sounds great. It really does. So whoever buys that is going to be very happy. It's not me, though, I'm afraid. It's an amazing guitar, but it's a lot of money, and I don't have that right now. So whoever buys that is going to be very happy. But yeah, good question, interesting question. Okay, McNasty says I don't really notice the fan at all. That's great. All right, hope the same applies to all of you watching, that you can't hear the fan in the background. G Tedeschi asks, do you have a 12-string acoustic guitar you could recommend? I've always liked the Taylors. I think whatever Taylor you go for, whether it's a 150E, which is like the kind of one of the lower, more affordable range guitars that they make, that's a fantastic sounding Dreadnought 12-string. But they're also making some smaller body 12-string guitars as well, kind of like the grand concert size. So Taylor is my preference for 12-string acoustics, I think. I think they play most comfortably as well. They play most like a 6-string, which to me is always the biggest obstacle to get around when you play a 12-string, is that it's literally just a far more cumbersome neck. Whereas the Taylor 12-string guitars don't really have that issue as much. They're a little bit more easy to navigate. So Taylor would be my choice. Really depends on your budget from that point on. But yeah, check out the Taylor 12-strings. Okay, I'll do one more question, then I'm going to move on to the other guitars, and I will come back to your questions. I can see actually there's quite a lot coming in, so I'll get through a couple more, then I'll move on to the next guitar. I want to keep this flowing today. All right. Hi, which amp do you prefer, Friedman Mini Dirty Shirley or the Marshall Studio Classic? Asks Sonical. Very different. The Friedman is a lot more refined and probably more versatile than the Studio Classic, which is Marshall's take, is their 20-watt JCM 800 basically. So if you're familiar with the JCM 800 and all the things it's renowned for, that Studio Classic is absolutely fantastic. It's probably my favourite of the small Studio Series amps. So if I had to choose one, I'd probably choose that because it's the truest to what it's trying to be. The Mini Dirty Shirley is great as well, but I'm such a big fan of the bigger amp, and it's just a slightly different character. It doesn't have some of the same characteristics of the bigger one, whereas the small Studio Classic sounds a lot like a big JCM 800. So, you know, they're both fantastic, but as you ask for a direct comparison, I'll probably give it to the Marshall, to be honest, though the Friedman is fantastic as well. Okay, let's see. Rob Brady asks, have you tried the Fender Vintera road-worn guitars? What's your opinion of them? Featured those in a live Q&A a couple of weeks ago, I think. Yeah, they're brilliant. They're really, really good. So the Vintera series, for anyone who doesn't know, is the current Mexican sort of vintage reissue line, if you want to call it that, with a few modern tweaks as well. But I think it essentially replaced the classic series, so like the classic 50s, 60s and 70s and so on. And they've just released the road-worn guitars, which are those guitars with nitro finishes and slight relicking. So it's kind of the winning formula because it's like, it gives you a vibe of the custom shop level instruments without having to spend custom shop money. I think they do a very good job of that, and you will see some more content on the road-worn Fender Vintera guitars very soon. But my opinion is very, very strong. And if you want to hear some more information about those, check out the live Q&A from maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I don't remember, quite recently, where I did play one of those guitars. So yeah, hopefully that will give you a bit more insight, but very good question. All right, let's move on to guitar number 2, and then I'm going to come back to your questions. Don't think I'm forgetting you, folks. Right, off goes the Les Paul. And a great one it was. Okay, what I want to show you now is something new to the live Q&As. I don't think I've played a telly before. So let's do it. Hopefully it's in tune. All that reverb is good. All right. So what I've got here is a guitar that I remember playing a little while ago, actually quite a long time ago, and really liking it. And just having a little wander today. Well, truth be told, it was right in front of me on the wall when I sat down in here. I was surprised that it's still here, because I do remember going through quite a few of these, playing them quite quickly, and then they would go, and yeah, this one's still here. So what this is a 51 Nocaster, and it's NOS, so finally a guitar for all you relic skeptics, which is fine, if that's your opinion, but here's one for you. So it's a nice NOS finish, and it's a really interesting finish. It's chocolate 3-tone sunburst, and I think it might have gone now, but there was a 59 chocolate sunburst Strat, which was incredibly popular in videos before, that I really liked that guitar as well, and I think a lot of you really liked that. So I was surprised that that went, and yet this is still here. And also, most notably, it's got a roasted maple neck. So it's quite a few novelties on this guitar. It's also not a Nocaster neck profile. I think it's a little slimmer than that. It's maybe a 54 or 55, I'm not entirely sure, but it's not a big, chunky, typical Nocaster neck. But there's a lot of good stuff going for this guitar. I mean, the finish alone is gorgeous, because you can see some really nice grain in there. And you can see the dreaded fan there too. But yeah, really nice finish on this guitar, and it just plays great as well, because roasted maple is really smooth under the fingers. So let me play a little bit more, and I'll play with the delays just so you can get some nice background washy context. Because I think this telly's got a really sort of usable range of tones. It's not too bright on the bridge pickup, and it's also not too murky on the neck, which sometimes Telecasters can be. It's the right balance of all things. So, whatever this guitar's got going on, it's working really nicely with this rig today, which wasn't by design. It was just coincidence that this guitar, like I said, picked it up, and it works great with these tones. So I think this is a telly for the people who maybe haven't got tellies before. So if you're not predominantly a telly player, and maybe you don't like the sound of that really squawky, bright bridge pickup that they're sometimes renowned for, this guitar isn't that. It's a lot warmer sounding. It will still do some of the... Yeah, the kind of... I'll turn that ridiculous delay off to do that. But it's not going to take your face off, which I really like. I think a lot of people appreciate that. Maybe if I really dig into it, it'll give some of that squawky telliness. So there you go. What an awesome Telecaster. What I kind of read into there, as some of you will have been able to tell, was this sounds a lot like the Robin Ford kind of Teletone to me, at least with that melody gain pedal on the floor. So if that's your bag, and you want something that doesn't look like a 60s Tele, there you go. Wicked guitar. I really like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold on to this for a moment. I'm going to get on to some more of your questions in the interest of mixing things up. So let's see what we got in that interim. Okay, Odds UK said quite a while ago, in fact, I'm jumping back quite a way, the middle position is so underused by Les Paul players. It's amazing how much Page utilises it in The Song Remains the Same live concert. Yeah, very good point. He's always been the kind of the guy that I think of for those middle position Les Paul tones and the sort of amount of variety of tones that you can get just between the two Les Paul volume controls. A lot of it comes from Page. Peter Green as well. Yeah, great example of how to use a Les Paul middle position properly. And it is some of the best tones, I think, particularly if you just work those volume controls and find the ratios that work for you. Yeah, you're going to get some great results. By the way, if it looks like I'm looking, staring awkwardly into the distance, it's not. I keep forgetting that my camera is at this end of the phone and not this end, so I'm staring at the bottom of my phone for no reason. So forgive that if I'm staring awkwardly at any point. Right, hopefully that answers your question. Well, it wasn't a question, it was a statement, which I endorse. Casino Guitars are in the house. Hey guys. Thanks once again, by the way, for the follow-up to our Metallica Tale of Two Tones video. I saw that recently on your Fret Buzz, I think that's what it's called, isn't it? Fret Buzz little series, which is great, and you gave us a mention for the Metallica Tale of Two Tones, which is much appreciated. That video was a lot of fun to do, so I'm glad that you guys liked it, and I think it's proven to be quite a popular video for us, which is great. So yeah, up the Talica, as they say, and thanks for the support on that one, guys. Good to have you here. Riversider11 asks, interested in the American original 60s Teles, how do you rate them? I would say, let me just think about this before I answer. I am going to say that's probably the best Fender USA production guitar I think they make right now. Yeah, I think so. I used it recently on the Fender 68 custom amp lineup video. If you've seen that, there's a burgundy metallic coloured 60s American original Tele. Sounds glorious, that guitar. It's really, really similar to some of the custom shop guitars that I've played. The American original stuff, it's not all to my taste. I think they've made some sort of glaring omissions from those lineups in part, but most of the guitars are good. But yeah, some things are missing, I think, from that collection. But the 60s Teles, they nailed it. The 50s Teles are great as well, but the 60s Teles, I just think they've got a thing happening for them that is very much in line with some NOS custom shops. So that's a very good choice of guitar. And yeah, thinking quite carefully about that answer, I would go out on record and say that that's my favourite production line USA Fender guitar as of right now. So if you're going to pick one up, you have my my full support. So yeah. Okay. Oh, whoops. iPad malfunction there. Okay, let me just jump back to where I was. Willie M415, best non-historic reissue Les Paul. I'm not quite sure how that factors in. So maybe you mean like not a late 50s or like not a burst reissue guitar. If that's what you mean, then the 57 customs and the 68 customs I think are some of my favourites, but I'm not quite sure I understand your question, so if you want to drop another question in below that sort of elaborates on that, I'll try and answer better for you. But If you're meaning not burst Les Paul reissues, what's the best? I love the 68 and the 57 customs, respectively. Okay. Adam Cave Project asks, how do you like to run both channels of the Duelist generally? What I normally do, I don't have one here to demonstrate, unfortunately, but I like using the string singer side, so kind of tube screamer-esque side, as more of a boost. So I usually have the drive almost off, or around 9 o'clock, with volume about 1 o'clock and the tone about 1 o'clock on the fat mode, and that makes for a really nice boost for pretty much any guitar. So just as a lead boost, a little step up, it sounds great. The other side, the string singer side, I like to use that more as like an amp style overdrive, and that's usually the side that you hear in most of the listing videos that I do. It's usually the left side of the Duelist, so the heavy hand side I think it's called, with the gain probably around 11 o'clock, volume around 11 o'clock as well, and the tone about the same on the stock mode. And just those two sounds alone covers so much sonic ground, and then if you stack them, it's a glorious sound as well. That's usually how I set them. You can get a bunch of other great settings, but not too heavy on the gains on either channel. But yeah, left side I use more as the amp style drive, right side I use more as the boost. But you could do it any way you like, but that's what I tend to do. Ealing Savage says, do Peach guitars do trades? As best as I know right now, we're not taking trades. However, I could be wrong on that. I'd get in touch with the sales team with regard to that question. As far as I know, I certainly haven't been playing many traded in guitars as of late, so my guess is that it's probably a no. But get in touch with the sales team to find out for sure. Sorry, I can't give you a direct answer there. Jeebus God, which is a good name, unless I've mispronounced that horribly, and it's a sincere name. I just find that quite funny. Just bought myself the Lucas Nelson Les Paul Jr. Absolutely love it. Are you a big fan of single pickup guitars, or more specifically Les Paul Juniors? They're just rock and riff machines. I 100% agree with you. That guitar, I haven't played that guitar yet, the Lucas Nelson yet. You beat me to that. But Les Paul Juniors in general, one of my favourite guitars ever, and I love the single pickup thing. I used to play an Esquire as my main guitar for a good few years when I was younger anyway. There's something about just having one pickup. Scientifically, I think it is impactful because there's less magnetism on the guitar, just pulling the string out of place so it vibrates more freely. I think that is science. I don't think that can be denied. But I also just love the mental challenge that it sets of making everything work with one pickup. So whether it is an Esquire, which for anyone who doesn't know is basically a Tele with a single bridge pickup, or a Les Paul Jr., you know, those guitars just, as you say, they're rock and roll riff machines. They do quite a lot of other stuff as well, but I think they're best suited to that kind of thing. So yeah, congrats on the guitar. I think that's a great one. I look forward to playing one of those Lucas Nelson models myself, in fact, when I get the chance. Okay, right, I think I can make it through a few more questions before I jump onto the next guitar. I want to get the right balance of playing and talking, so, okay. Patrick Carroll asks, Jack, regarding gear, do you have any experience with VHT amps? I'm sorry, I don't, actually. I know they kind of, well, they used to be anyway, linked to Fryette amps, and maybe played one or two of those. They're great amps from what I know of them. They're very sort of articulate. They're kind of like Soldano-esque, and my experience with the Soldano stuff here, I'm very, very fond of those. So I think the VHTs are in a similar kind of direction tonally. So, you know, my experience with Soldano could probably speak some way to VHT kind of, some thoughts on that. So yeah, I haven't played one unfortunately, but if they're anything like the Soldanos I've played, they're going to be awesome. But, you know, I'd get a Soldano if you can. Okay. Let's see what we Giles Murphy, what are your thoughts on Gordon Smith guitars? I don't think I've ever really played many of them, to be honest with you. Maybe played one or two, but nothing that's really stuck in my memory. So, I'd be fibbing if I said I had a full review of one of those. You know, I'm sure they're decent guitars, but I honestly don't really know too much about them. Haven't played very many of them, I'm afraid. Okay. Blood Rainer says, hi, here from Spain after a nap and with my English Earl Grey tea, and also my English teacher. Sounds like a good afternoon, or it's probably evening in Spain right now, so sounds like you're having a great time. Welcome. Right. Diego Sinisi, hi from Argentina. Are there any substantial differences between the current historic R7, R8 and R9 Les Pauls and the true vintage ones released prior to 2018? Thank you and keep up the good work. Thank you, sir. There were a few significant changes that came about for the 60th anniversary reissue guitars. If you haven't seen it, there's a video on the Peach channel where I went through some of the significant changes to the new spec, if you like, of those reissue guitars. So check that out for more info. All I can say is that they just play and sound better, they're clearer. I have an R8 from 2011, which is a great guitar, but stuff like the Les Paul I played earlier today just smokes it in terms of sounding like an old Les Paul. So yeah, there's something to be said for that, but check out the 60th anniversary video that's on the Peach channel where I went into a lot more detail about the specs of the current Les Paul lineup. Okay. A few good taters says, what model telly is this again? This is a custom shop 51 Nocaster NOS chocolate 3-tone sunburst. And if you didn't hear this guitar before, someone actually asked for some stones as well. Ealing Savage asked for some stones. Let's do a little bit of that. It's not the best tone for it, but stones, and I merged into some status quo there as well. Two of the best Telecaster related bands of all time. There we are. Alright, I'm going to move on to the next guitar because I realise I'm approaching the hour and I don't want to take up too much more of your time, and I want to talk about this guitar. So, what I've got here, I'm going to get straight to it. PRS CE 24, and this is a semi-hollow variant with a gloss finish in a really rather nice vintage sunburst. I think this is a great looking guitar. Some of you may have seen recently our mega PRS unboxings that we've had. We've had some really nice stuff from them, some Wood Library guitars, some Modern Eagle guitars, and there were some CE guitars on there as well, and I think they kind of got left behind a little bit. They kind of got a bit forgotten, so I wanted to just spend a couple of minutes on one of these. This wasn't one of the ones that have just come in, but I remember playing this guitar before and thinking, these are great. So the CE is a bolt-on neck, custom 24 basically, with a maple neck as opposed to mahogany, and this particular one is chambered, semi-hollow. So what that all adds up to give you is an instrument that's considerably brighter than a regular custom 24, and it sounds like this. Really nice clean tone. It's really articulate and really comfortable to play this neck as well. I've said this before, but there aren't a lot of PRS guitars that don't have gloss necks, and some people, that's just not their thing. This one though is satin. It's really comfortable. So let me show you with some gain what this thing will do. A lot of fun to play these guitars, and the coil split sounds are really, really good. PRS always deliver on their coil split sounds, but when it's married to a semi-hollow body with maple neck, I think it works even better, to be honest. And I actually sort of copped some Pete Townshend style tones in there a little bit, courtesy of the amp, of course, the Z Master amp that I put in the Pete Townshend Tale of Two Tones recently. Maybe I should have used this guitar. Maybe Pete should start using this guitar, who knows. But yeah, great instrument. So just want to give a little bit of love to the CEs, because I think maybe they kind of got a little bit left behind in light of the amazing wood library and sort of higher end custom guitars that we've had recently. But these guitars are fantastic, and they're a cool $2,000, that kind of price point, which is still, you know, considerable money, but for a USA PRS guitar, not bad, you know. Check out the website for more info on these if you're interested. There's satin ones available as well. I think those are even on a deal that's preposterously low. But this guitar with the gloss finish and the semi-hollow is a little bit more, but they're all really good value. I really like CEs, and they'd actually be one of my first choices for PRS guitar of my own. So that's out of the way anyway. Okay, Gavin Penny tunes in from Saskatoon. Well, good to have you here, sir. I hope that it's not too hot, not too cold. Yeah, enjoy yourself in Saskatoon. Thank you for watching today's video. Okay, William415 has a follow-up question from before with the Les Pauls. I meant to say, what's your favourite non-custom shop Les Paul? I really like the Slash Signature, the Slash Core Collection guitar, I think it's called. Which again we did a feature on last year when it came out. I actually played one yesterday for something and thought it's a brilliant guitar. It's basically what the Les Paul Standard always kind of should have been, and it's similar to the original collection Les Paul, with a few tweaks obviously for Slash's signature requirements. But I personally prefer that guitar because it's got a little bit of a bigger neck and custom voice pickups, and it's not custom shop money, but it is verging on custom shop tones and quality. So don't be put off by the Slash connection if you're not a Slash fan, because what's cool is they come with a truss rod cover that you could replace the one with his signature on if you don't want that. So if you want a wicked Les Paul and you don't want a signature guitar, then I'd recommend the Slash guitars, and you can just change the truss rod cover. So those are great. They're really, really nice. Check those out if you haven't seen them already, and I hope that answers your question. Sports says, tell me the best tremolo pedal to buy. Well, it very much depends on your requirements. There's a lot of really good ones. I personally love the Strymon Flint, and it happens to be married to the best reverb pedal that's out there right now, the 2-in-1. If you don't want reverb and you want something a little bit more versatile, then you've got stuff like the Sir Jack Rabbit. Is a very underrated tremolo, in fact, which has tap tempo and a few other really cool features on that tremolo. That's a great pedal, but that's what I've played recently. Goodness me, I haven't really played any tremolos recently, but JHS have a few, I think. They've got the Kodiak, is it, I think, tremolo, which is very good. And there's a smaller one, which escapes me right now. I think it's small and blue. Anyway, it'll be on the Peach Guitars website, but JHS is great. Sir Jack Rabbit is another great one. And the Strymon Flint, if you want the cream of the crop, Strymon Flint all the way. Which I see someone's already recommended in the comments, so thank you for that. Beat me to it. Okay, let's get through a couple more questions and then I'm going to wrap this up. Monty Kantzin asks, have you tried the Vemuran Shanks OD pedal? Any thoughts on it? I have tried that. It's a wicked sounding pedal. I believe, I'm reliably informed actually since I played it, that it's basically a takeoff of the Noble's Overdrive, but with a few tweaks, which is the go-to session player, Nashville session player overdrive pedal. It's the go-to for a lot of those guys. And yeah, man, it is a great pedal. I actually don't get to use it that much, but I have played it once or twice before. It's a really, really nice pedal, that Shanks pedal. All of his pedals, his fuzz pedal, I think, is one of my favourite fuzzes as well. He's got a very good ear, John Shanks, legendary guitar player and producer, with currently with Bon Jovi, I believe, at the moment. Great guitar player and great pedal designer as well, it turns out. So, yeah, very good pedal. But if you don't want to spend that much money, by the way, the Noble's ODR1 comes pretty close. So check that out. We've got those in stock right now. Okay. Blood Rainer lines up a few questions here. A few petitions, as you put them. One, the revival drive, maybe through a katana. Two, compare blues tones, Les Pauls versus ESP. I remember you mentioning that last week, in fact, or somebody did, which is a good idea for blues tones. And three, valve amps to play at home, low volume and great tone. Some interesting themes, so we'll try and cover those in future videos, I reckon. Maybe even future live Q&As, who knows. But yeah, good bunch of questions there. Thank you for those. I'm going to come back to those. Okay, let me play you out on this really nice PRS guitar. As I said, I wanted to keep today's a little more short and sweet, so thank you for sticking with me, as always. I really appreciate it. And thank you for tolerating the fan noise, which was very much needed today. It's a hot day. So I just want to say a quick word of thanks to everyone that's supporting this Peach Guitars channel. It's really going in a direction that we're very pleased with right now, and it seems that you guys are liking what we're doing. So thank you very much for the support of that. I also want to say thank you to everyone who's supporting my own YouTube channel, which is, if you haven't seen it, I will link it down below. But it's Jack Griffiths Music, and you know, a lot of you guys have been really, really supportive over there recently, which is great. So all I can say is keep it up. I look forward to seeing you here next week for another live Q&A. Obviously keep your eye out on the Peach channel anyway, because there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming very soon. And also, if you haven't checked it out, head over to Jack Griffiths Music to check out my stuff. might be posting a live video over the next couple of days as well. So if you've got any more questions, more specifically playing related or music related questions, then that will be the forum in which I answer those. But this is all about cool gear, so thanks for joining me once again for another cool gear episode. I'm going to play you out a little bit. Thanks for watching, take care of yourselves guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye. There's some Ace Frehley for you. Right, see you guys.